This video is going to show you how mental health, depression, isolation, spiritual awakening, and spiritual guidance all coincide. If you've ever been severely tested by life, if you've ever felt like committing suicide, if you've ever felt like all hope is lost, between the ages of 27, 31, mid 50s to 60s, and if you're blessed to live longer, between mid 70s and 80s. This is that test to pull you forward to the next beautiful cycle of your life. It is called Saturn Return, and this beautiful queen right here, Chelsie Kryst, experienced it, and I'm going to outline how that is in sharing her story to help anybody dealing with mental health issues, depression, suicidal thoughts, and just extreme sadness. I hope and pray that this helps you. Please comment down below and let me know. My name is Nicole Honore V. I'm founder of Spiritual Guidance Academy. I am here to help you learn how to hear from the Most High, which is through our spiritual guidance. And that is absolutely key in getting through this extremely tough, sensitive time in your life called Saturn Return. We all experience it, we all will go through it, but not every one of us will make it through, and not every one of us will recognize the signs. This video is going to help you thoroughly recognize the signs to reach your victory in every area of life. Let's get started. Please hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, hit the bell so you'll be notified when I come back over with free videos just like this.
And she had spoken with so many about their battles.
Gabrielle, you've been so open and honest about, some of the challenges you've had, your mental health, even suicidal thoughts.
Chelsie spoke with Gabrielle and her husband Dwayne Wade just last year.
What do you say to someone at home who is feeling hopeless and just needs some encouragement?
Take a lot more joy in the journey, but also therapy. Get it and have no shame about it.
She talked with Mary J. Blige about the revelations that she made in her documentary, My Life.
Most of the times I was just depressed and didn't want to live.
You really went deep into mental health, which previously had a really big stigma around it, especially in the Black community.
I had to show people where all this pain came from that was in the My Life album in the first place.
And Taraji P. Henson shared her story about having suicidal thoughts in quarantine.
I started having thoughts about ending it.
Can you tell us how you were able to escape and how you stay positive now?
Well, you take each moment. It's not like I wake up every day and I'm happy, but thank God I'm in therapy. I can now identify when I'm about to start the tip down.
In 2020, Chelsie spoke to the online edition of the collegiate newspaper, The Hilltop, for Mental Health Awareness Month.
I try to set very clear boundaries, so even though I'm at home and I've got my computer and my phone with me, I'm done answering emails at 6 o'clock, and that helps me a lot.
Tell me, how was your life as a youngster?
Ruthless, my style as a juvenile, ran with a gang, slanged in the meanwhile, banking. I specialize in.
Tell me, how was your life as a youngster?
Ruthless, my style as a juvenile, ran with a gang, slanged in the meanwhile, banking. I specialize in.
That's something she's going to say. Let's roll that clip.
These are all microaggressions that I have experienced. I've been told I'm pretty for a Black girl, although that one is closer to just being outright racist. I've been told I was articulate, which sounds like a compliment, but frequently Black people hear this, and what it sounds like to us is you didn't expect that I could speak clearly because I'm a Black person, and now that you're surprised, you feel like you're giving me a compliment because you're telling me I'm articulate. Instead, just say something like, I like how you made that point, because then it actually shows that you're listening to the words coming out of my mouth versus sitting in awe that a Black person can speak normally. I've had random people I do not know just walk up to me and touch my hair. It makes me feel like I'm a pet, or that the hair growing out of my head is so out of the ordinary that you just absolutely had to touch it. Just ask. I'll almost always say no, but I think it's important to respect somebody's personal space and just ask before you touch their hair. I was asked on a date with a white guy if I knew my dad. which felt like he was assuming that like Black people don't know our fathers. When I was still practicing law, there were people who would like list off a bunch of Black people that they knew and ask me if I knew them, thinking that like all Black people must know each other, or that we don't have mutual friends who are non-Black. One white lawyer always wanted to introduce me to people, but every person he introduced me to was another Black person. Like, I guess he would meet Black people and just think, you need to meet other Black people. I think he just thought he was helping me to network, but I can meet plenty of people within our community who I can network with. In many courthouses in North Carolina, you cannot bring your laptop or cell phone into the courthouse unless you're an attorney. And there were many times that I would be stopped at security and I would tell security, like, look, I have my laptop and cell phone, I'm an attorney. And they would ask to see my bar card, which looks like this. My license is currently inactive, so obviously this is old because I no longer practice law. But if I was accompanied by a white attorney from my law firm, we would just have to tell security that we were attorneys and they would let us in. There are a lot of reasons I don't want to practice law anymore, but here are 3. Number 1, I just really like what I do now. I'm a correspondent and TV host. I work on Extra, and so I get to interview really interesting people all the time. Like just in the last few weeks, some of the people I interviewed were Denzel Washington, Mariah Carey, and Alicia Keys, and they were all so nice. I was a correspondent at Miss Universe in December and in May. I do speaking engagements. And so part of it is just I really love the stuff that I do now. My second reason is billable hours are trash. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. If y'all really want to know about billable hours, just let me know and I'll make a separate video, but it's a lot and it's a big reason. My third reason is just the general lack of diversity in the legal profession and the constant microaggressions because of it. Now that can be said about a lot of different industries, but for some reason it just felt worse in the legal profession. For example, I remember once walking into a deposition, which is basically just like a formal interview of a person. So I'm a lawyer interviewing somebody on the record. And the court reporter was sitting in the room when I walked in. I think she was the only one there. And I walk in and sit down. She's like, do you know when the lawyers are getting here? Well, I'm here, so the lawyers are here. And I think what made me the most upset about that last instance was like I walk into this room with my suit on and this giant bag full of documents that I then start taking out of my bag so I can ask the person I'm deposing about this information. I'm like, what client or layperson who walks into a deposition with all this stuff? They walk in with themselves and Jesus. That's it. And it's not just me with these experiences. Like if you look up Brian Stevenson, who was the lawyer that Michael B. Jordan played in that movie, Just Mercy, Brian Stevenson, he had the same thing, or he had a similar thing happen to him where he walked into a courtroom and a judge was like, sir, you don't need to be sitting at counsel table without your lawyer. And he's like, Your Honor, I'm the lawyer, sir.
So we're going to look at an interview that Chelsie Kryst's mom made about the final text her daughter sent her before she realized she had already committed suicide. She said that her daughter had been struggling with depression for quite some time and had attempted suicide in her 20s. Chelsie did succumb by death by suicide January 30th at the age of 30. And remember, your Saturn return is officially kicked in from 27 years of age to 31 years of age. A few years prior, 25, 35, you're still feeling the effects of it, and you can definitely see signs where spiritual guidance is truly going to help you. She says that her daughter was her best friend, but that she had high functioning depression, which isn't a medical diagnosis officially, but it essentially is a depression among people who maintain what seems to be thriving, happy, successful lives. And of course, we all know on the inside, that can be totally different. you know what's going on behind closed doors. Sometimes you get to work, you get out in front of family, friends, and you force a smile. And that's what she said she noticed in her daughter. And then the first suicide attempt came, and they started opening up more about the conversation. And she made it a point to be an active, to have a more active role in her daughter's life. She wanted her to feel comfortable calling her, and she said she was the first person that she spoke to, that her mom spoke to in the morning. She said Chelsie started taking all of the right steps. And I say Christy because when I started getting spiritual guidance to even do this video, I kept hearing her name as Christy. And whenever she reached out to me, it was Christy. So I just want to put that out there. And so she said that she got the text, and it said, the first thing she said is, first, I'm sorry. By the time you get this, I won't be alive anymore. And so she rushed to her husband, Kryst's stepfather. They called the police. They booked the next flight to New York. Her mom was immediately thinking, this must be like the first attempt. Let's get on a plane. Let's get there. On the plane, the police called Simpkins, which is Kryst's mom, Chelsea's mom, and confirmed that Chelsie was dead. Then she went back and read the rest of the text, and it said, I wish I could stay with you, but I cannot bear the crushing weight of persistence, sadness, hopelessness, and loneliness any longer. I've never told you these feelings because I never wanted you to worry. She said that her daughter thanked her for being there for her in some of her loneliest moments. In your Saturn return, the loneliness is where we must talk to God. We must. Divine Source, our Creator, we hear when there's silence, because in the third dimension, we're thinking, we're doing, there's the chaos, there's all sorts of emotions, there's a lot of pressure. Some of it is self-imposed, some of it is what we're taught that we must bear. Some of it comes in from the tests that I believe are tribulations for us to get over, to obtain our blessings. We have the fight. We have the awareness to pivot when we have to take flight. So that fight or flight response that our human automatically goes to, I believe when we use it to our advantage, we start that off by following our spiritual guidance. And it gets us out of the troubles that often some people succumb to. She goes on to tell her mother, you have kept me alive and ready to face another day because you answer every phone call and you are there for me at a drop of a hat. You're the perfect mom, and I will love you forever, even in death. So I believe that mental health, depression, anxiety has everything to do with spiritual awakening. It's best served through spiritual guidance because spiritual guidance defies human logic. And when human logic seems skewed, when we're under these seriously difficult amounts of pressure, often we want that escape. spiritual guidance, our relationship with the Most High, affords us that escape and allows us to still move through the obstacle and get to the other side. This is the essay that this beautiful queen, Chelsie Kryst, made 2 years before she committed suicide. And I'm gonna read her essay, and I'm gonna break apart the signs of spiritual guidance that tells you how Saturn return really works so that you make the right choices the first time. At 28, she made history of becoming the oldest Miss USA champion in the pageant's 68-year history. And unfortunately, she succumbed to the pressures to achieve. But this article is going to really break apart how Saturn return really hit her. So it says, each time I say I'm turning 30, I cringe a little. Sometimes I can successfully mask this uncomfortable response with excitement. Other times, my enthusiasm feels hollow, like bad acting. Remember, spiritual superstars, from 27 to 30, so really you're feeling it 25 to 35 of this extremely difficult moment in time where there's just extreme pressures. It's uncomfortable. You've got to take action to the left or the right. You've got to make a decision, or you can try to stand still and try to ignore it, but that doesn't work either. You just feel outside of yourself. Who else can relate? Society has never been kind to those growing old, especially women. Occasional exceptions are made for some of the rich and a few of the famous. When I was crowned Miss USA 2019 at 28 years old, I was the oldest woman in history to win the title. A designation even the sparkling $200,000 pearl and diamond Mickey Model crown could barely brighten for some die-hard pageant fans who immediately began to petition for the age limit to be lowered. A grinning, crinkly-eyed glance at my achievements thus far makes me giddy about laying the groundwork for more. But turning 30 feels like a cold reminder that I'm running out of time to matter in society's eyes, and it's infuriating. Right there, spiritual superstars, she's feeling the pressure to perform, and she's feeling the pressure of, does she live her life for everyone else, or does she live her life for herself? And it is like pressure that's crushing you from every angle. And it's just the extreme tests and difficulties during that time. And she was right smack in her Saturn return at 28. So she was already feeling the pressure for that prior year at 27. She really began to feel it. And before that, it was leading up to this type of extreme pressure. After a year like 2020, you would think we'd learn that growing old is a treasure and maturity is a gift not everyone gets to enjoy. Far too many of us allow ourselves to be measured by a standard that some sternly refuse to challenge, and others simply acquiesce to because fitting in and going with the flow is easier than rowing against the current. I fought this fight before, and it's the battle I'm currently fighting with 30. That's it right there, spiritual superstars. So in your Saturn return, you are measured. You are facing Saturn's rules, and Saturn is the master, the daddy of the universe, the librarian with the ruler or the yardstick with the glasses and the no-nonsense energy, the teacher that no one wants to have, and locks the whole schoolhouse doors with chains so you can't get out until you've made a 110 on every single exam. That's the pressure. And she says she's already started to challenge it, and she's wondering why others aren't as well, or she's seeing the difference in she's doing it. Why aren't the people she's connected to or watching doing it as well? She's seeing the divide. Remember that in your spiritual awakening, which absolutely happens in your Saturn return, you're seeing the difference in what you value, your standards, your requirements for relationship, for life, differ from people that you've hung around, you've been around, you love, and you're seeing your passion right in front of your face, but it's scary. And it's the exact opposite of what you can do for a living, a career, because that career, that job, you can choose because you can easily do it. But your passion starts coming up and standing in your face and not going anywhere. It wakes you up from 3 to 5 a.m. in the morning. It comes to you through so many different messages that are synchronistically repeating. So she says, how do I shake society's unwavering norms when I'm facing the relentless tick of time? It's the age-old question. What happens when immovable meets unstoppable? To be fair, I didn't spring from the womb, sword in hand, to fight the good fight. And I'm certainly not exempting myself from belonging to the go-with-the-flow crowd on occasion. I remember being enamored by 20 under 20 and 30 under 30 lists that tied achievement to youth and called it success. Lists that are surely intended to recognize the rarity of accomplishing outstanding feats at a young age, but they had an uncomfortable side effect on some young people who felt encouraged to hoard accomplishments as fast as possible in order to measure up to our peers. There it is. In your Saturn return, you are challenged to go your own way and break from the norm. You are challenged to forge your own path and co-create with spirit. And the other side of it, remember, we are a dual being. So your human is moving in a way that your human has been taught to go in, taught by parents, guardians, growing up by the streets, by the job, managers, supervisors, teachers, the whole 9 yards, life, relationships, learning what your human likes, dislikes, the praise, the accomplishment, the validation, being liked, being included. So your human is going in that direction of, hey, look at me, I've done this and I can do this by myself and I can make this happen, or I'm gonna have fun doing this and that. It's easy, I'm making easy money. I've got friends that, so what if they don't really like me? Maybe they could be frenemies, but who cares? I'm having a good time. Versus you, the soul, saying deep inside, do they really like me, or do they just like my money? Or do they just like what I bring to the group and they could really care less about me? Or does he really like me, or is he just kind of sleeping with me? Or does she really like me, or she want me for my money? Or there's so many sides, there's so many different things that it could be, and you've got to see the difference. So that big blaring part there, society has never been kind to women growing older, with occasional exceptions for some of the rich and a few of the famous. When I graduated from college and opted to continue my studies at Wake Forest University, I decided I'd earn a law degree and an MBA at the same time. Why stop at 2 degrees when you can have 3? I joined a trial team at school and won a national championship. I competed in moot court, won essay competitions, and earned local, regional, and national executive board positions. I nearly worked myself to death, literally, until an 8-day stint in a local hospital sparked the development of a new perspective, spiritual superstars. She worked herself nearly to death, she said, literally, trying to please everybody else, trying to obtain the third dimensional accomplishments, the trophies. And then God came in, God said, girl, if you don't sit down, I'm going to have to sit you down. How many times has Spirit had to sit you down because you don't know when to quit? You don't know when to walk away. You don't know when to turn away from somebody or something. When has divine intervention had to let you know what your stopping point was or is and when to pivot? She says, I discovered that the world's most important question, especially when asked repeatedly and answered frankly, is why. Why earn more achievements just to collect another win? Why pursue another plaque or medal or line item on my resume if it's for vanity's sake? Third dimensional energy, that's that material gain, rather than out of passion. Boom. Life mission, passion. That's what's waking us up at 3 to 5 a.m. in the morning. That's what you can't shake when Spirit's calling you. That's when you're just automatically dumped into your shadow work. You can't ignore it. You've got to answer the call. And that is spiritual awakening. The moment that Spirit reaches out to each and every one of us and alerts us to our untapped potential and our unstoppable self. And that's where she was at. She goes on to say, too often I noticed that the only people impressed by an accomplishment were those who wanted it for themselves. Boom. Who is she really impressing? Remember, our human has a whole different agenda that our human has been taught. Oh, honey, you should get this job because your sister works there and it's good money. Oh, you should stay there. It's a great company. You're going to work 40 years and then retire. Oh my gosh, can you really make money selling those little trinkets that you make? I mean, who's going to want to buy it? Why would you quit your job? That wasn't a smart decision. Oh my goodness, you're a coach, a card reader. What? Can you really make money doing that? What do you mean you're going to coach people how to heal their own body? What? You're an accountant. What do you know about that? So looking at the divide that's happening in your life around Saturn return, you're going to be thinking, should I even be with this person? Are they really who Spirit wants me to be with? Are they going to make me happy? Am I going to make them happy? She goes on to say, meanwhile, I was rewarded with the lonely craving for the next award. See, her human was going along with the program, but she, the soul within her human, didn't want that. She craved something else that was more fulfilling. Some would see this hunger and label it competitiveness. Others might call it the unquenchable thirst of insecurity. I was further along in the journey of learning this lesson when I won Miss USA. My term was not an exercise in the expected. Instead, it felt filled with purpose. In fact, from the moment I won, my reign ignited a heightened desire to commit myself to passion, intent, and authenticity. Ding, 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 spiritual superstar. She hit it. That was her calling. She answered the door and she was able to walk right through it. And she deserved to be celebrated for that, not judged. How many times have you been judged during your Saturn return, during your spiritual awakening? How many times have you paused and didn't know who to talk to about the tingling and the itching and the burning sensations and the crawling sensations all over your skin? How many times have you wanted to ask, oh my gosh, Lord, what does this mean? Why does my eye keep itching? Why are my ears burning? Why are my hands itching like this? What do I do? Who do I talk to? I'm so glad you found Spiritual Guidance Academy, and I'm so glad you found me. Pageant girls are supposed to be model tall and slender, don bouffant hair, and have a killer walk. But she says her 5'6" frame won with six-pack abs, earned after years of competing in Division I track and field, and a head of natural curls in a time when generations of Black women have been taught that being too Black would cost them wins in the boardroom and on pageant stages. My challenge of the status quo certainly caught the attention of the trolls, and I can't tell you how many times I have deleted comments on my social media pages that had vomit emojis and insults telling me I wasn't pretty enough to be Miss USA, or that my muscular build was actually a man body. Spiritual superstars, now you know, I wish that I knew her. I wish I knew her personally. I wish at that time that I could just have loved up on her and had the blessing of just knowing her personally, because I would have just loved on her and let her know, girl, please. Jealousy and envy, they are coming out like rats backed in a corner. And that is the test that Saturn needed her to pass, to know just how beautiful she was inside and out, to be tested by the trolls who couldn't care less about her life, about her wins, about her success, could care less about her passion. She needed to be tested because that's what we're doing in our Saturn return. We are being tested so that for the next 30 years, we are extremely blessed in all areas of life. And she says, and that was just my looks. My opinions, on the other hand, were enough to make a traditional pageant fan clutch their pearls. Women who compete in pageants are supposed to have a middle-of-the-road opinion, if any, so as not to offend. She says, I talked candidly about my views on the legalization of marijuana, the Trump administration's immigration policies, anti-abortion laws, the confirmation of Justice Amy Coney Barrett, and the successes and failures of criminal justice reform. She says, I openly supported the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement and marched in protest over the summer. She was living her passion, spiritual superstars, and she was just getting started. She goes on to say, I wasn't searching to collect more awards or recognition during my reign. Rather, I fed the passion that made waking up each morning feel worthwhile. Speaking out against injustice. Bam! Spiritual superstars. She tapped into her mission. She knew she was passionate already about speaking up for the little person, speaking up against the injustices, being herself, her beautiful inside, letting it flow outside. And she found her mission, being the voice, using her form of expression through television, through radio, through video, through interviewing, all of it, speaking up in her speaking engagements against injustice. She goes on to say, my 29th birthday felt very emblematic of the season I'm looking forward to entering. In a time when extravagant birthday bashes are the gold standard of celebrations, I was happily stuck in my apartment. Listen to this, spiritual superstars, parading around in a black silk top, matching shorts, and a floor-length robe while scarfing down banana pudding and screening birthday calls. I even wore my crown around the apartment for most of the day, knowing I'd have to give it back at the end of my reign as Miss USA. I did what I wanted rather than the expected. Now I enter a year 30 searching for joy and purpose on my own terms. And that feels like my own sweet victory. That gives me every bit of the chills that I'm sure you just felt. Nothing but spirit, nothing but love for her. And as you just heard, she decided on her 29th birthday, 1 year before she took her own life, that she was going to live her life on her terms. She isolated herself. She lived her birthday the way she wanted to, not the way she was expected to. How many times do you isolate in your Saturn return? How many times do you isolate in a spiritual awakening? Isolation is the way that we hear from spirit. God talks to us in the silence. God reassures us. It's super important to stay connected. It's super important to know the signs. Please download the book, How to Hear from God. Okay, download the book, go to our website. The link should be somewhere around here. Definitely get with me for coaching. I certainly want to help you. And when you're in your Saturn return, you are tested. Once again, you are tested to know which direction to go into for the next 30 years of your life. And then you're going to face another Saturn return. So anyone that is nearing their second Saturn return, you are absolutely pivoting against certain areas of life, people, behavior, mindsets, relationships, likes, dislikes, all of that's changing. Your goals have completely changed. Your attitude about life changed. Your perspective completely different. People don't even know you anymore. And that is your deciding factor right there. People are more comfortable with who you used to be. Those are the people that you're going to be walking away from. And that's okay. Because anyone that likes you the way you used to be, when you didn't even like who you used to be, that's a problem. And the problem is not yours, it's theirs. You can't live in the past, spiritual superstars, and you deserve to walk proudly into your beautiful future. I hope that this has helped you. I pray that it has. And just let me know in the comments down below what your story has been like. How have you been tested in your Saturn return? Whether you are anywhere near or in between 27 to 31 years old, or anywhere between 54 and 60. Anywhere around there. If you're 50, you're already starting to walk into that new life. If you are 25, you're starting to really walk into that new life. And if you're anywhere from 30 to 35, then you are definitely seeing what you could have done, and there's still time for you to make those changes that you were told to make several years prior, between the last 5 years prior. And if you are 60, 65, you definitely just need to look back 5 years, 10 years prior and look at the major tests that you were experiencing and decide to make those pivots. Remember, these tests are meant to bless every single one of us. I hope this has helped you. Let me know. Take great care. And I love you. Remember, you are so important. You are an important fabric of this beautiful third dimensional life. And of course, in the spiritual realm. We got help, spiritual superstars. All we have to do is ask. Love you. Mwah. I'll see you soon.